Bitcoin now over 50,000 a coin because a lot of people over the weekend saw the Super Bowl. They're like, oh my God, what is all this Bitcoin? I need some. I can't be the only guy in the country club without some Bitcoin. So they call up their Merrill Lynch guy. They're like, okay, buy me ARK B, buy me the BlackRock ETF. I need some exposure. And the price is popping.
Max Keiser, a vocal Bitcoin supporter. In this video, Max will share his insights on how did Bitcoin ETF boost demand, leading to a $220,000 prediction. How does global deglobalization and de-dollarization contribute to increased conflict? How can Bitcoin promote peace by demonetizing war and transforming the social contract? Why should liberals embrace Bitcoin for its anti-war potential? And why are they missing out? Don't miss this exciting and informative interview with Max Keiser.
Since the ETFs have been launched now, the demand for Bitcoin is something like 12 times higher than the daily emission of Bitcoin, right? So you're having a wall of demand meet a cliff of supply, right? So there's no supply. You can have a supply shock and a demand shock at the same time. So that's why the price is going to go bonkers on the upside. That's why I have this $220,000 price target, because once this thing gets rolling now, it gets to 50,000. Once it gets to a new all-time high at around 69,000, so every single chart of every single analyst on every single Bloomberg machine flashes a huge buy, then this money starts to roll in, and it's never been easier to buy Bitcoin. Remember, up until these ETFs, to buy Bitcoin was relatively difficult for the average retail buyer, but now it's as easy as buying any other stock. They can go to their Schwab, they can go to Merrill Lynch, anybody like that, and they can buy into a Bitcoin ETF. So it's never been easier, and the interest has never been higher. The fiat money world's never looked worse. And speaking of fiat money world catastrophes, Graham, I couldn't help but notice this story that the Ukraine may freeze the bank accounts to force people to fight this war.
Bitcoin is a means to end the nuclear age and usher in a worldwide peacetime. Bitcoin is rooted in the story of Japan, the first and only nation to experience the horror of nuclear weapons. The devastation that Japan went through at the end of World War II teaches us the consequences of war and calls for people to come together for peace. Bitcoin, through the empowerment of individuals, has begun to disrupt the world and challenge the status quo of the war game played by the few. Bitcoin is seen as a currency of peace and love that inspires action for peace. Bitcoin was created as an act of love by Satoshi Nakamoto for the world, which is why it continues to promote the same selflessness. Bitcoin offers an alternative to a universal security system backed by men with guns. It creates a new model of security based on cryptographic proof that can resist unlimited applications of violence, making a bulletproof network. Wait a minute, everyone. Welcome to Bitcoin Zella, your platform for daily cryptocurrency analysis and news. Our mission is to keep it simple. Bitcoin Zella offers engaging information that is easy to understand. Our analysts keep their eyes on the latest news to provide valuable insights via email. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Join our community of 10,000 subscribers and experience the new edge with Bitcoin Zella. Subscribe now.
War is breaking out everywhere because of deglobalization and de-dollarization. So during the period of dollarization and globalization, I can say that this was really post-World War II, and then accelerated in the 80s during a period of deregulation when financialization became more dominant as a percentage of the overall economy. It went from being, let's say, 15% of the economy to being 60 or 70% of the economy, if you really would look deeply into how all these companies actually get their profit. So if you were to understand that the financialization of everything has gotten to this point, then you would understand that you can effectively orchestrate a rug pull on the whole house of cards. All activists have a common cause and a common enemy. It started with Occupy Wall Street. Occupy Wall Street was an interesting protest because it went after the banks on Wall Street. And that was the first time, to my knowledge, where activists, were looking more at the root cause of the issues that they were taking exception with. If we can cut off the funding, then that would be an effective campaign. And that's true. But in the story of Wall Street and the money printers, of course, they can just print an endless amount of money. And so it's impossible to really wage an effective campaign. But in the case of Bitcoin, when you're effectively orchestrating a rug pull on the system because you are defunding the central banks by putting capital into Bitcoin, so that capital ends up going into this unconfiscatable perfect money Bitcoin, and the folks that are in the business of printing all that money will eventually just melt down. They're melting down anyway,
Right.
but this would accelerate the meltdown, which I think you need to do to right the ship, to get to a point where there's strong fundamental values upon which you can build a society. But right now, we don't have that base to build a society on because it's all being printed into oblivion. Anybody who has access to a printer will print an infinite amount. And so you have a dysfunctional society. That's happening all over the world. So everyone around the world, every conflict has a common enemy, and that is the central banking cartel.
De-dollarization is a trend that involves a significant reduction in the use of the US dollar in global trade and financial transactions, decreasing the demand and dominance of the greenback. This trend is driven by various factors, such as geopolitical and geostrategic shifts, the rise of alternative currencies, the erosion of the U.S. credibility and stability, and the negative effects of the U.S. sanctions and trade wars. Deglobalization is a phenomenon that entails a reversal or slowdown of the integration and interdependence of the world economy, trade, and culture. This phenomenon is influenced by various factors, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, the growing ideological differences, and the green transition. Deglobalization can have various impacts, such as disrupting global value chains, reducing economic growth and efficiency, increasing protectionism and nationalism, and reshaping regional and global alliances.
Yeah, Bitcoin demonetizes war and violence. And what I mean by that is because it's unconfiscatable, it's uncoercible, right? You cannot coerce someone into giving you their property, their Bitcoin, because it's behind this encrypted wall that you cannot penetrate, even if you are the U.S. military, even if you are show up with a tank. You cannot get through this encrypted wall of Bitcoin to seize anybody's Bitcoin. And so it changes the dynamic because economics has always evolved really over the course of human history as a byproduct of war and vice versa. There's always been this need for more territory. We're going to expand. We're going to take that guy's stuff. And but if you can't take that guy's stuff and you can't go to war, there's no profit incentive to go to war because the booty is unconfiscatable. Then you're not going to go to war. You know, you have to come up with some other reason incentivize you to get up in the morning other than to go and steal somebody else's shit. And so it disincentivizes war and it monetizes peace and love, because then what people will come out with and do is, in order to get some Bitcoin, they'll exchange something that would be considered of value, and that something would be useful, like food or some practical device or a homemade tool, or to put it in crude terms. And so it just changes the whole social contract and the social structure if you have perfect money, unconfiscatable money. So let me ask you this. The liberal side of the political aisle, I believe they're against war.
Yes.
Right? They're like traditionally like, we're against war. It's usually on the right. They're like, hey, we got to go to war. We're the defense military industrial complex. We like war. We're on the right. We're conservatives. And the lefties, the perception anyway, is that they're against war. They're more into the others. But so the question becomes, why wouldn't liberals and lefties like Bitcoin for this reason? That's a question, Graham.
And do not forget to subscribe to Bitcoin Zella. The most important news will reach your inbox on a daily basis and for free. Not know why you haven't subscribed yet? If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more daily updates. Remember, knowledge is power, and we're here to empower you on your financial journey. Until next time, happy investing.